Thank you, Sherry. I will say you are the hostess with the mostest. I am impressed, and I think sorry, quick Cisco plug. That's a woman at Cisco, and that makes us very proud. It actually makes me very proud to even be here today. I am so privileged to be amongst this group of amazing, amazing people, amazing entrepreneurs, such inspiring women. I've had goosebumps almost all day, even when I was watching it online, which speaks volumes. So this is just amazing. I am not an entrepreneur, though, and at least not yet, but I'm not an entrepreneur. But I am a marveler. I marvel. Are you a marveler? Any of you? Think about what you felt when you were watching and listening to some of these amazing stories, the tenaciousness, the ingenuity, the focus. Did you get that feeling of sort of admiring surprise, some wonderment? Okay, so I knew I wasn't the only one. You're a marveler too. And when you marvel, it actually takes a little bit of time. You actually need to pause. You need to reflect. You need to be fully present in the moment. And you need to take a look around. And it's really concerning today because we are so busy, we don't have time to do that anymore. Not often do we say, I need my reflection moment, and we sit back and we marvel at the world. That definitely concerns me a bit, but I'll talk about that in just a minute. From marveling, I have a not so scientific, but a specific hypothesis about marveling. And that hypothesis is very straightforward. I believe that the simple act of marveling can take you on a journey to lead you to action. And that action can be small and change a moment in your day, or that action could be huge, like what we saw today, and could change a life or change the world. And it's that simple act of marveling that takes you on that journey. Now, this is not really a scientific hypothesis. I will tell you, I came up with it simply from my own experiences. But what I'd like to do is share some of those experiences with you today, and maybe you can help me prove my hypothesis true when you leave here later. You with me on that? Great. So let me start with my first experience. And my first experience sits with the fact that I am a working mother. I think Daniel asked the same question. Any of you working parents? Fathers, mothers, right? Okay, so you know what a really busy day looks like. You know what your list of things to do is all about. And as a working mother of three, an executive at a $43 billion company, people often ask me, how do you do it? Do any of you guys get that question? How do you do it? And the thing is, until recently, my answer to that question was, I have absolutely no idea. I have no idea how I get through the day. I know I'm a lucky person with a lucky partner, but I have no idea how I get through the day. But then I realized there's actually a trick I use, and I didn't even realize I was doing it, but there's a trick I use to keep everything in balance and to try to keep myself focused. And that lies with my ability to marvel at the moment, to sit back and marvel at the moment. And I've found, especially lately in this new role that I've taken on, the more stressed I get, the more I marvel. Because it's the only way I can get myself to take a little action and ground myself. So in my case, I absolutely marvel at the fact that on any given morning, you all are working parents, you know how crazy mornings can be. Think about the insane amount of things that working parents do in the morning before they walk into the office or before they even start their day. It is amazing. You need to have some humor, actually, and a lot of ingenuity to get through the morning to survive. So on any given morning, I can be found belting out Justin Bieber as loud as I can while I'm driving a car full of kids to school. And then just hours later, I'm standing on a stage or in a conference call, just like this, right? And I'm talking to thousands of people using that same voice that was belting out Justin Bieber, but instead talking about Cisco's financial statements, our competitive position, the newest feature on the backplane of a Catalyst 6500, to thousands of employees and investors and media around the world. That paradox makes me marvel, right? And then there are some times where I have to tell you, I marvel at exactly what I cleaned out from under my fingernails after I changed my son's diaper in the morning, just hours before I'm shaking the hands of government officials and executives and customers and partners and my employees. And now none of you are going to shake my hand when you leave. Notice I didn't give you a visual and I did clean my hands. I marvel at that. Would they even take me seriously if they knew that that was what my morning was like? So what I found is that marveling for me definitely keeps me grounded. It gets me through the moment. It helps me take some action to step back, not get stressed, certainly not to take myself so seriously, and it kind of gets me through the day. So if you are a working parent or a caretaker or anyone who has a really busy life, I highly recommend that you just step back and marvel at all the things that you do and the amazing things that come across your plate in a day, and it might just kind of take the edge off. Second example. As I said, I am not an entrepreneur. I am one of those people who marvels at the ingenuity and the perseverance of entrepreneurs. And then I sit back and say, oh, why didn't I think of that? That's what I do. That's what I do. And the entrepreneurial spirit is so amazing here in the Valley. When I moved here 13 years ago, I will tell you my marveling absolutely increased. And I often say to people, in the Valley, you can see the world changing in front of your eyes. I mean, absolutely in front of your eyes. You see orchards turned into freeways in a matter of months. You see these 20-somethings turn into icons, and deservedly so, because they truly are changing the world. It is happening right in front of our eyes. And really, the way people work, live, play, and learn is transforming every minute thanks to that perseverance and that focus of entrepreneurs. And so, in my mind, when I think about it, there could never be more of a time than right now that we have got to really foster that entrepreneurial spirit. Because we as a society, and certainly this country, is facing challenges and opportunities that are harder, more critical, and bigger than we have ever faced before. And we need that entrepreneurial spirit to move it forward. I'm certain that the need for innovation and collaboration and really this creative edge to drive economic growth has never been more important. So right now, we have to be able to foster that entrepreneurial spirit. And when I think about that, I think about the intersection. And I sat back and I kind of marvel about that. And when I was marveling about this entrepreneurial spirit, I think, we need brains on this. And we need the brains of everyone, not just the male brains, but the brains of the females. That other 50% of the population that Vivek was talking about, we need to get their brains to light up on that. And it's the women, it's those female brains. It's the women and the females who are so underrepresented as leaders in industry and government. They're so underrepresented in capital investment and training. And so often their voices, it's the women's voices that are so underrepresented when it comes to political and social uprising, because they are the hardest hit victims. And so again, I marvel at this intersection of entrepreneurial spirit and the role of women in society. And I say to myself, okay, I'm not the entrepreneur today to really make the difference. So what is my role? What is my role to ensure that those voices and those women are represented? What can I do in this day and age with my busy life to make a difference? How can I bring that representation forward and support the female ingenuity, but at the same time support that fortitude for survival that is so uniquely present in women around the world? What can I do? And so from this marveling, I took some action, which leads me back to my hypothesis. And finally, I looked up outside of my own crazy world and said, well, let's see what I can do. What can I discover? Where can I participate? And once I did that, a couple years ago, there are so many organizations out there where we can all participate. You all are probably well aware of them. But there's so many organizations that are out there driving change. And as I was doing my research, I found one that I love, kiva.org. I'm sure many, if not all of you know about it. They are doing amazing things. So I started participating in Kiva and funding and doing microloans to women and female entrepreneurs. And it is so inspiring to see what these women can do. And what is even more inspiring is that this small little community of people on one side of the world is usually helping a small little community of people on the other side of the world. And their ideas are so simple, yet they're ingenious, and it's driving a better life for them. And every time my loan comes up and it's time for me to find somebody else, I get really inspired and I get really grounded, and I appreciate all that I do. There's another organization that I found out about it, Women for Women. I'm sure many of you know about Women for Women. Women for Women allows you to sponsor a sister on the other side of the world, usually on the other side of the world. That's at least the experience I've had to date. I've been doing it for a couple of years. And when I joined Women for Women, I knew that I was going to learn something about someone else, and I did. And actually, it was through Women for Women that I met Eliane Murakawanga. She is so amazing. She has gone through things that I couldn't imagine. And so I sponsored her. I wrote her a letter. I told her a little bit about myself. I learned about her commitment, her fortitude, as I mentioned earlier. And you know, I actually, for the first time, felt like I was actually helping at least one other individual. And it felt good, and it was exactly what I expected from Women for Women. What I didn't expect is that she actually wrote me back. You know, when you go to the Women for Women International website and you read about it, they say that every once in a while they'll write you back. She wrote me back. I was blown away, and yes, I had many, many marveling moments when she wrote me back. I marveled at all of the commonalities that we had. We were similar age, we had the same number of children, we placed the same exact value in education, we shared the same appreciation for small, kind gestures. The amount of commonalities that we had, it was marveling. It was amazing to me. The only difference, of course, is that Eliane survived the genocide of Rwanda, which took over 800,000 people's lives. And yet she's still there. And I'm sure that I won't ever meet her, but man, do I still marvel at her commitment, her ability to survive, and her focus on really making a better life for herself. So, second example of how marveling drove me to action. And that leads me to my final example. I am acutely aware of the fact that my children, my 3 beautiful, wonderful children, may never actually fully appreciate who they are and fully appreciate being born where they were born. It's taken me many, many years to realize that, and I'm sure I still have a little bit more to go. And what concerns me is that how busy their lives are and the pace in this world and where it's going may prevent them from ever being able to have that moment of marveling, that admiring surprise that they would have that could spark their ingenuity or spark some innovation, or more importantly, spark some compassion where they can give back. I'm concerned about that. And when I think about, you know, what do I do, or how do I create some opportunities for that, my husband and I really sat back and we thought, well, the ability for them to really marvel at the world is probably going to be grounded first in their understanding of what they can contribute to the world. So we thought of some ideas, and we talked and had some great conversations with our friends about what could we do first. So we talked with our kids. My oldest daughter, Julia, today she's 9.5, not 9, 9.5. On her 7th birthday, she decided that instead of presents, she was going to ask for loose change. And she was going to ask her friends to give her change so that she could collect money and then donate it to an organization of her choice, organization that she would research, figure out what she really had you know, an affinity for, and she would donate that. And it was interesting. A few parents actually said to me, do you think that's fair to her? She's only going to be 7. Does she understand that? And I thought, you know, my daughter has enough. Trust me, it's more than fair. And so her friends obliged her, and she raised about $100. My husband and I matched it. And she sat down and wrote a letter. She chose a fantastic organization here in the Valley that supports and creates educational programs for foster children. She wanted to do something with kids and all about education. So she wrote them this letter. So of course my husband and I were extremely pleased. They wrote her an incredibly thoughtful letter back. They thanked her. They explained to her what a difference she was making. They gave her very specific examples of what her almost $200, a little over $200, made. And you know, they did something that surprised us. They invited her, my 7-year-old daughter, to their annual dinner of donors and investors, where they celebrated the kids who actually graduated from these programs. And so we went to this dinner, and then the dinner was a moment of marvel I will never forget. They not only invited her, they actually honored her. It was amazing. They honored her as the youngest philanthropist they'd ever have in history. It was amazing. So in a room this big with several hundred attendees, they flashed her letter in her crazy first grade writing up on the PowerPoint, up on the slide, and they gave her this trophy. So they gave her this trophy, and I'll tell you, today, this trophy sits on her shelf like in the best way possible. It sits next to the soccer trophies and the lacrosse trophies and the music awards. And whenever anyone goes into her room, I guarantee you 9 out of 10 times, that's the trophy that she shows, and she explains that story. And even better, her younger sister, who's a couple years younger, recounts and repeats that story all the time, like only younger sisters can do, because she's so incredibly proud of her sister. So I got a double whammy. My husband and I got a double whammy for that, because that will impact their life forever. Forever. And I thought, okay, I'm on a roll. So what are we going to do? So some friends of mine and I decided we would create an organization that would empower our daughters through community service. So if you can imagine a cross between the Girl Scouts and the Red Cross, but it's actually run by, I think, 10 or 11 now, 8 to 12-year-olds, and a few moms who like to drink wine while we watch them. They pick an organization every 3 months, a different organization that they want to support. They do a little research. We help them with it. And then they use their own entrepreneurial skills to figure out how will they raise money, how will they do a clothing drive or a food drive, or bring their own skill sets to the table to actually help this organization. It's really fun to watch. We let them name their organization. So they're the Happy Helpers. Real creative, right? And you know, the name and the little logo we help them says it all, right? A bunch of little smiling faces ready to help at any time. But it has been a fantastic experience. And for me, my hope is that this is the beginning of their journey. First, to understand how they can contribute to the world, and then to go out there and just really nail it with their own ideas and their own thoughts and their own beliefs. So what I would leave you with is that probably my hypothesis is true. I believe it is. I do believe that the simple act of marveling takes you on a journey that leads to action. No matter how small or how big, it leads you to action. And in my own case, my journey is a bit about just having enough action to get myself through the day, not freak out, but enjoy the moment and marvel at it. But it's really taken me on another journey where I am forward focused now in a way that I wasn't several years ago. And in a way probably my life would not always let me be, because there's only so many hours in a day. And I have to imagine right now that for entrepreneurs, there must be a little bit of marveling at the heart of everything they do. And that takes them on a journey to create and to begin. And it's not just our kids that we need to teach how to do this, right? It's us. We're the ones, frankly, that are moving too fast, and we set the example. And the thing is, we're the ones, the adults, who can actually make a big impact. We have the resources, and we have the brains. So I would submit to you, take a moment to sit back and to truly be present in that moment, and do a little bit of marveling, however big or however small, and see where it takes you. Thank you.